Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Angel. I am joined by SunWest and AngelAi CEO and founder Pavan Agarwal, live from Paradise in Puerto Rico. How are you doing today, Pavan?
And yes, here in Dorado Beach, Puerto Rico. And you can see the beautiful weather behind me. It's always sunny, except when there's a hurricane. It's always sunny in Puerto Rico. And fortunately, we had a really good hurricane season this year. There was no hurricanes, but yet there was enough rain to refill the aqueducts, and we are in good shape.
So no hurricanes this year in Puerto Rico, but we had a hurricane in Los Angeles. So I guess it diverted here.
That's the power of AngelAi. AngelAi raised her specter, her wand, and said, "Go away, be gone, hurricane." And so here we are. We have the amazing Molly Gordon. So you all, thank you again for joining, and show us how much you love the content that we're producing out. Show us how much you love Molly, and don't forget my co-pilot Angel. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and post your comments on the live chat. We are monitoring the comments, because if you smash that like button enough times, if enough of you smash that like button, Molly is going to give you her 5 top secrets, her 5 top tips that has helped every one of her clients. She's going to give you the 5 best things that you can take away today that you can implement now for free.
Yay! We love free.
At the end, and it's coming to you at the end of this broadcast. So hit that like and subscribe button, and we're going to talk about Molly, about mindset coaching, about multiplying your business, about leadership, and let's just hear from Molly. I mean, she's got an amazing life, and just she's helped so many people. And when I first heard about the invitation to Molly to join our podcast, I was like super excited. So let's do it, Molly. Tell us about yourself.
How you here?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Very excited to be here with you. And I've heard so many great things about you and AngelAi, and yeah, just very excited. So I'll just kind of jump right in, a little intro about me. I started out in real estate, so very familiar with the mortgage world. Spent about 4 years in real estate in Ohio and Michigan. And from there, I decided my life took a little detour, had some personal things go on, those big growth points, right? And was going through actually a custody trial with my daughter, and really reset my priorities, and I decided I really wanted to do something that was creating as much impact as possible. And so I started my coaching journey by coaching mindfulness and yoga actually in the workplace. The first corporate aspect of that was a mortgage company, believe it or not. So just kind of funny the way those things work out, those connections that we make a difference across the board. And then from there, I discovered NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. It's essentially understanding ourselves from the inside so we can understand others, understand our model of the world and how that represents internally and then, of course, externally, right? And how we come across to everyone around us. So like I said, I got started with that, became certified in NLP as a coach and practitioner, and most recently as a master NLP coach and practitioner. So lots of experience in the brain science world, if you will, and mindset. So really just focusing on creating success from the inside out. So much of anyone's success is determined by their intentionality around growth and mindset. And that's so much of what NLP is it's the intention and the belief that you're operating out of. So that's kind of that was my start. And I just help individuals to really realize the emotional blocks that they have that are stopping them, because so many of us, we go through life and we don't even realize what roadblocks are standing in our way. So often we're carrying around all of this emotional baggage from childhood, honestly, because, well, let's face it, none of us got out unscathed, right? And so we all have stuff to work through. And so that's what I help people realize, is someone comes to me a lot, 9 times out of 10 comes to me for help with their business. And we end up digging into the emotional aspects behind that, and really building a foundation from the ground up, because no one wants to build a house on sand, right? So that's it in a nutshell.
So I find neuro-linguistic programming just fascinating, because everyone who's listening right now is a salesperson, right? We have an audience of loan originators and realtors. And of course, the whole art of the sale is linguistic programming to your customer, getting them to understand through words and sparking the right emotions, and so that they act on the opportunities that you're presenting to them. Sure. Right. So I cannot underscore how important it is to get this kind of training and to get to learn how to do this. And I experienced a little bit of a Sam's a NLP coach as well. He's actually holding a session today.
Nice.
Today on this to some of the top agents, and he showed me some of it. And I was like, oh my God, it just blew me away. So
yeah.
So from you were in the real estate mortgage business, then you went to coaching, then you went to NLP, and you're an NLP master now. So does that mean that right now the whole audience is getting hypnotized by you? They don't even realize it.
Maybe. You never know. So much of the benefit and the power behind NLP is that it's not simply so much of what we do is language, right? As human beings connecting with one another through our words. However, I think it's important to keep in mind that language and our words are 7% of communication. So much of it is the tonality, is the tempo, and that's what goes into that hypnotic language, right? When you sink into your body and you soften your voice and you slow the tempo of your voice, that's the basis of hypnotic language, right? And what it does is it really keys up your listener and almost like primes that conversation so that they're really paying attention to what you're saying, and how you're saying it is the impact, right?
So slow it down and reduce your octaves down a few, right?
Yeah.
Reduce your voice to a little bit deeper. Make your voice a little bit deeper by a few octaves. That's the right way to say it. And that draws people in.
Mm-hmm. It's the same concept as I'm sure many of us listening are parents, right? It's the same concept as so many times when you're communicating with your kids and you're frustrated and your voice escalates. So many children will tune out. If you drop your voice, if you were to whisper to your kids, I mean, instant attention, right? And it's the same thing with someone you're talking to. If I were to lower my voice dramatically, you're going to tune in because you want to hear what it obviously something has changed, right? So what is it? It's human nature. It's curiosity.
Okay, so that explains why every time my dad got mad at me, he would speak softer and softer. Say again?
I said, did you pay attention though?
Well, I was a bad kid, so he was mad at me all the time. So I don't know.
Just tired of yelling, right?
Exactly. Okay, so Yeah, so we're talking about my dad. Yeah, he would just lower his voice. He could speak softer and softer. The more angry he would get, especially at me, it would get softer and softer. And that's when I knew, like, okay, all right, fine, fine, I'll get it done. Just, I don't want to. It was worse than yelling, actually.
Right. Exactly. It's effective.
He must have taken one of your courses.
Maybe.
When you talk about lowering your making your voice deeper, lowering your voice. Actually, just recently, I watched this podcast or listened to this podcast with Morgan Freeman, and he was explaining some of the voice coaching he got. And one of the things I took away from it, which I thought was really interesting, he said one of the things he does before he speaks is he actually yawns. And if you yawn, it lowers whatever, loosens up your vocal cords and your octaves, whatever, drops. I'm butchering this. Like, I'm not Morgan Freeman. I can't say it as well as he did. But literally, he said he yawns a couple of times before he speaks, and that makes his voice deeper.
Interesting.
So that's the tip of the day. Oh,
There
look.
you go.
Even a fool like me can teach Molly something.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah.
Right?
Well, I
So
mean, that's the whole beauty of life, right? As we're constantly learning and growing. And the more we grow, the higher the level of problems. Well, there's always challenges that come up, right?
Yeah.
Points of growth.
Yeah, my favorite Chinese proverb is a wise man learns from a fool, but a fool learns from no one.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
Molly, true master, ready to soak in every little bit of information from wherever you can get it. And to your credit, you're not really learning from me, you're learning from Morgan Freeman, because I'm just restating what he said. So
Absolutely.
you're actually learning from another master.
Beautiful.
So
Yeah.
talk to me about your experience with your clients and what kind of impact your coaching has made to their lives, to their business. And I think a lot of people right now tuned in because they want to know, okay, how do I use Molly's coaching to make money? So I think that's the question on everybody's mind. And
for sure.
I think what you were saying, though, is more than just about immediately making money. This impacts your whole life and improves everything in it. So go ahead. How do you answer those questions?
So really, like you said, you hit the nail on the head. It's across the board, right? And for me, congruency is such a vital part of my life, my coaching career, everything, right? So I'm never going to ask someone to do something I'm not willing to do. So my very first step was in my coaching journey was hiring a coach. And that's where my NLP training and everything else fell into place from there. And the same things that I learned through being coached are the most successful points of coaching with my clients too. It's not a concept of reinventing the wheel, right? We learn from people who have tried and true methods, and a huge, huge part of the success that I think any one of my clients would tell you is a modality within NLP called timeline therapy. So what that does is it takes, talk about that emotional baggage that we carry around, right? Most times from childhood, from before 7 years old, when we're in that first developmental stage. And it's dissolving the triggers around the 5 core negative emotions. So you're never going to dissolve negative emotions because that's part of the human experience, right? We're all going to have and feel negative emotion. If not, we're walking through life numb. However, if you can pinpoint and release the initial trigger of what gets a rise out of you, right? You're not carrying those into current relationships. You're not reactive, you're responding because you have done that amount of growth required to get to that point. And if you haven't put in the work to heal the stuff that you have going on, you're not going to be able to move on to a more successful point. You're going to be, if you're finding yourself stuck and you're not, maybe it's the income level, like you mentioned. Maybe it's you're repeating the same patterns in romantic relationships. Maybe it's you're constantly getting frustrated with your kids. Whatever the case may be, if you're repeating a pattern over and over again and you're not getting anywhere, it's because there's some sort of block in place. And recognizing that is the first step, right? And that's where people come to me. Okay, I'm stuck in this. Let's use business, for example. I'm not getting promoted, or I'm not getting to the next level of client, right? So mortgage industry is a perfect example. Coming from a real estate perspective, if you're not getting the higher level of loans that you want to get, for example, right? Or you're constantly having people come in who, don't know if they really need to be pre-approved before they buy a house. You just have these lower level thinking buyers, for example, right? What needs to change within you to have those relationship conversations with, the realtors that you're in partnership with and things like that. So many different aspects of emotional growth that contributes to success. Where are you stuck? So define where you're stuck. And then what do you need to do to move forward?
Excellent. So can you talk about some of without obviously getting into client information, some of examples of how you've helped clients specifically and what kind of changes that they saw in their business and their lives?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a client, obviously, who shall remain nameless, right? Who has suffered a lot with anxiety after COVID, as so many people have. And we went through timeline therapy, and we went through a lot of reframing exercises. So one thing I have clients do is called a brain dump and reframe, right? So getting all of those negative thoughts in our minds out on a piece of paper, everything, right? And then walking away for an hour or so, coming back and going line by line. So a lot of times when you're doing a brain dump, you're very victim mindset. These things are happening to me, right? And then you go back and reframe. How is this happening for me, or what is this trying to teach me? That's that looking at it through a different lens, right? So those two things were the biggest contributors, is what she would say, to releasing that anxiety. It was debilitating, right? She could not leave her house for months and months and months on end. And this was a business owner. This is someone who relied on meeting people, relied on networking, relied on all these things to build her business. And after we went through a 3-month program, she was traveling all over the place. She was out at networking events. She was doing the things that she did before, because realistically, anxiety is about getting present. Anxiety is your brain trying to fill in the gap from what's going on right now to a future scenario and making up things, right? And creating this messy little ball of yarn, right, with your thoughts, because you are so apprehensive, so nervous, so scared, insert whatever word you would like there. And your mind is trying to figure it out, because your brain is designed to keep you safe and small. That's why growth is hard. That's why it's called growing pains, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And how about, is there a client that you helped them increase their business? And if so, how did that come about?
Yeah. So I've had a few real estate clients who were just apprehensive about, one of them was apprehensive about putting themselves out there, for example, right? The other one was very much a scarcity mentality, because so much of real estate is feast or famine, right? Depending on the market, and I'm sure it's the same with the mortgage industry as well. I can't speak personally to that. However, it would make sense, because we're all pulling from the same place, right? So it goes back to healing the emotions first. You're not going to get anywhere if you don't get over your own stuff, because you're taking all of that and you're carrying it into every conversation. It's how you're showing up in the world. If you aren't able to evolve and grow, you are going to keep showing up as the same person. So you're going to keep attracting the same thing. So much. I would say everything is dependent on you being able to grow personally, internally, before you grow externally.
That makes sense. And these clients that you're talking about that you helped, what kind of net results did they see in their business as they went through the coaching?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily net results that are being reported back to me, right? Because we're working on something different. However, I do get the text messages and the testimonials about my business has increased. Oh my gosh, I have 3 new clients. I closed a couple more sales this month than I did a few months ago. Things like that versus actual numbers, because when you're coming from a point of mindset coaching versus business coaching, the focus isn't on the dollar amount, it's on the impact.
Gotcha.
That make sense?
Yes, that makes absolutely sense. Right. And also, I think my guess is that how they're handling the current business has probably increased a lot better. Their relationship with their clients and their overall ability to manage and control their clients, I'm sure, has increased tremendously.
Absolutely. Well, when you have a handle on what's going on internally and you're able to see when health, when family, when relationships, when career, when spirituality or self-care are out of whack, then you're able to course correct more quickly. And that translates to other areas of life. Right? If you are internally more balanced, you're going to handle challenges much more easily, much more efficiently. You're going to manage your time a lot better because you're able to self-regulate.
Okay. Yes. And, when you work with clients, and especially real estate agents, I'm sure you see a lot of common mistakes that agents make with their managing their customers, managing their clients. Can you talk a little bit about that? What kind of mistakes you see them making, and what kind of I'm sorry, but what kind of like before and after, like before client A, he was doing this wrong, and then through the coaching process, where did he end up?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can, use myself as an example as well. When I started out in the business, I was getting calls from clients at 2:00 in the morning wanting to check on their loans. Oh, realtor, not mortgage officer, right? It's not loan officer. And it's so much of the ability to manage, to maintain, to build relationships is about setting boundaries, setting personal standards for yourself, right? And you don't know what those are until you're in it a lot of times. So you can't very well say, well, I'm a real estate agent and I work 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday. That doesn't work, right? However, maybe it's time management, right? Maybe it is setting aside specific time blocks in your calendar for your family so so your business doesn't override that and you aren't feeling stressed out and overwhelmed. Because that's where I was, right? I was getting, like I said, I was getting calls and texts at 2:00 in the morning because I hadn't set proper boundaries. Now, when I set proper expectations, boundaries, standards, however you want to label that, with my clients to begin with, when you pre-frame what that looks like, then you set yourself up for success. When you don't have any boundary at all and you say, you know what, I am available all the time for you, whatever you need, then you end up stressed out, you end up resentful, you end up in a position where your clients are disappointed because you said you'd be available 24/7. right? It's not realistic. So being realistic, setting boundaries, it really sets you up to have a mutual respect with your buyer and yourself, right? Or your loan officer, or whatever that relationship is. Very much about setting expectations.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think a lot of agents, both on the mortgage and the real estate side of it, lose control of the transaction, and they're unable to advise their customer. It's like you got to save them from themselves. In sales and especially in the real estate business, because there's so much at stake for the customers. A lot of home buyers and homeowners want to second guess the professionals that they hired and that they're paying a lot of money to do their job. And I think it's because the professional hasn't yet established the rapport, the trust, the confidence. So the client is constantly second guessing what you're telling them, and they end up not following the advice that they've been given to their own detriment. And
sure.
It's so often it's our job to save them from themselves. And if there's any other way to say it, right? So how does a realtor, right, get over that barrier? I mean, how does a realtor or a loan officer win that trust so that the clients are actually listening to them, as opposed to going rogue and doing something that they shouldn't be doing?
Well, it's interesting that you ask that. Inga, who had me on to talk to some of your loan officers a few weeks back, we talked about this specific thing, right? And you hit, again, nail on the head, right? It's building trust. Everything is about trust. And so it starts with you. If you don't trust yourself, that's how you're going to show up. You're going to show up as someone, because if you aren't trusting yourself, if you don't have faith in yourself, the confidence, faith in your ability to guide someone through a transaction, they're not going to feel like you can either. That's an energetic exchange that people just feel, just the same as they do scarcity, right? If you're walking around and you don't have 2 pennies to rub together, people feel that, that desperation. Right? We've all witnessed that. So we really need to look at taking it back to, again, ourselves. So what are you doing in your day-to-day life? What habits do you have in place? What promises are you keeping to yourself? Do you break promises to yourself all the time? Health is a great example. Have you told yourself over and over and over again that you're going to go to the gym 4 days a week and you never do? That's a breakdown of trust. Have you told yourself that you're going to get into maybe some sort of cleaning routine to stay organized in your house and you never do, and you're always frustrated and you're always looking for your keys or this or that, right? It leads to frustration. You walk out the door all frazzled. It's palpable. What it comes down to is, if you are not going to keep promises to yourself, you can't expect other people to believe you will keep your promise to them. It just doesn't work, So what does work is starting very small with one promise that you're going to keep to yourself. I tell my clients, like, if this is not a practice you have every day, make your bed. Make your bed every single day and do not fail ever. It's not hard. It takes 2 minutes, right? Or drink water, for God's sakes. Drink, I don't know, a gallon of water a day. Do it every day.
That reminds me of that famous commencement speech by that Navy SEAL captain or officer, Navy SEAL officer, about making your bed. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's been a while. Yes.
It's excellent. It's very motivational.
Because it comes down to, if you don't believe that you are trustworthy enough to keep small promises to yourself, Why should anyone else? It's integrity. That's what it comes down to.
That's right. Personal integrity starts with yourself first.
Absolutely.
Actually, what you're saying makes a lot of sense, because when I listen to the coaching from, the big real estate coaches out there, the big brand names, whether it's Tom Ferry or Mike Ferry or Bill Pipes or any of these guys, and I've listened to many of their classes, in person. I've been there, and they all have the same theme. They're the first thing they talk about is your schedule. You get up what time do you get up, and what do you do when you get up, and do you keep that promise to spend that 30 minutes at the gym, every day, and get the blood flowing. It's like every single one of them have the exact same message over and over again, right? And again, it's that same theme as that Navy SEAL officer about making your bed, is having that consistency that will get your mind in a certain spot.
Yeah. That's one of the first questions I ask someone when we are doing a consultation call, right? What's your morning routine? And you know how many people have one? Very few.
That's right.
Otherwise, they would already be on their way to setting themselves up for success.
Yeah.
It's important. It really is. And I mean, so is reflection in the evening, and writing out maybe your top 3 things you need to accomplish the next day. That way you wake up and you know what needs to be done. You're not, feeling like you're already behind the ball.
Yeah. Actually, that's something I do on a regular basis, like throughout the day. So I'll think of what I need to do and I'll write down. And there's just something funny about that. When you write down what you need to do, suddenly the stress goes away. The stress about doing it, I don't know why, at least for me, that's how it works for me. If I just write down, I got these 3 things to do, no matter how much I hate to do those things, right? The things that and what I do is I write down what I procrastinate on the most, like the most unpleasant things to do. I write it down. I got to do these 3 things. Once I've written it down, then suddenly I'm relaxed and I don't mind doing it. And it gets done.
Well, it's the same concept of avoidance is very similar to fear, right? Let's take, for example, when you're a kid and you're afraid of the dark, right? You're not afraid of the dark. You're afraid of the unknown, right? When you turn the light on, you see that it's just a pile of blankets in your closet, right? Same thing when you're writing something down. Okay, well, reverse engineer the thing you hate to do, or the big scary goal you have or whatever. Writing those things down makes them so much less intimidating. It breaks it, it really simplifies it so much. And the other part of it is, if you think about it, when you were in school studying, whether that was, middle school, high school, college, whatever, how did you study that was most effective? You wrote things down, you took notes. And it's because there's a link in our brain between physically writing things down and recollection. It's so much easier to be able to bring things to mind if you've written them down.
Well, when I was a kid,
what's that?
I said, when I was a kid, I opened the lights in my closet. I found a big green monster with 3 eyes. So ever since then, I don't open the lights.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Bad example, right?
Those monsters really do exist. I saw that movie, Monsters, Inc. They're there.
But they're more scared of you than you are of them.
There you go. There you go.
Was that Toy Story? I don't remember now.
It was Monsters, Inc.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I interrupted you mid-thought, Molly.
Oh, I was just gonna say, along with writing things down, something that I've found is extremely effective, whether it's overcoming challenges or just in your day-to-day with your morning routine, just kind of speaking to writing things down, right? Is a gratitude journal. That's something that I recommend for everybody. it's just an incredible practice. And there's so much science behind it too, because your particular activating system in your brain is constantly looking for the things that you tell it. Your brain is very simple. Your unconscious mind, not so much, right? Your brain, however, is always going to be looking for proof of what you tell it. So if you are writing, let's say, I like threes, right? Writing down the 3 things you need to do for the day. If you're writing down 3 things that you are grateful for, your brain is going to not only be in a more positive frame, it's going to be looking for good things throughout your day. And it's also a way of teaching yourself to reframe the way you see situations and scenarios. It literally builds neural pathways in your brain. So you're physically and mentally changing the way you think. So for something so simple and so almost cliche now, it's so effective and so simple and quick,
Molly, tell us about where you grew up and when you were growing up, what was your life like? And did you expect to see the kind of success that you have seen today? Was this anywhere in your wildest dream as you were growing up as a little girl?
Yeah, so not at all. And I grew up in a tiny, tiny town. I graduated with 47 people in my class. The type of school where it's K through 12 all in one building. Right? People drove tractors to school the last day of school. Very, very farm community.
Where is this now?
Picture of a horse back there. So Pittsford, Michigan. So, okay. So I grew up with horses and goats. I didn't do sports in school. I trained horses and ponies that my papa brought home, my maternal grandfather, and threw me on the back of them and said, "Give it a shot, kid." So a lot of my resiliency, I like to credit to that for sure. And from there, I originally thought I was going to be a dental hygienist. So I moved, once I graduated from high school, I moved up to Kalamazoo, Michigan, and started pursuing dental hygiene school. That's what brought me to my adult home, and decided that was not for me. And I got into real estate soon after that, after getting into apartment leasing and things, property management, that sort of thing. Real estate felt like a natural transition. So got into real estate, and when I was living in Columbus, Ohio. So I'd moved around to Southern Illinois and Columbus, Ohio, where I was in real estate for about a year, and then back up to Kalamazoo, Michigan. So call it my tour of the Midwest, And that's what brought me up here back up here for real estate. And was on a team for a few years, and that was a great experience. It taught me a lot about who I am, about relationships with clients, loan officers, title companies, and how those relationships will really make or break a transaction, and really, contributes to your fulfillment and happiness and things like that by building those relationships, and from there, like I mentioned, I went through a big life transition. I was going through a custody battle with my daughter. It was extremely emotional, as any of you have been through that can imagine. It is extremely emotionally taxing, and I realized that real estate was not it for me. I needed to do something where I could create as much impact as possible. And so the place I started with that was mindfulness and yoga in the corporate world. My first one was actually a mortgage company locally. And from there, I got involved with NLP and really built my coaching business off of that, because it's something I fell in love with it because it healed me. And to be able to bring that full circle to my clients is such a gift. I tell people I get to do this. I get to. It's such a privilege and an honor to be able to impact people's lives like that. You know, it's just incredible. So that's what brings me to today as an NLP coach, practitioner, master NLP coach. And from here, sky's the limit, really. I would love to be able to bring this to more companies so that they can, foster this idea and these concepts for internal growth,
Yeah, so I like what you said there is it's an honor, it's a privilege for what you do, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of starts right there as number one. And I tell this to people all the time and people who work with me all the time. It's like, you got to love what you do.
Yeah.
If you don't, this isn't for you. If you can't get up in the morning and say, let's go, yeah, let's go, let's get to work, let's go make a difference. Right? If you don't have that energy in the morning, then you got to stop and reassess. Am I really where I belong? Right. And so, sometimes you are where you belong, and that is inside you, but then it's gotten buried with all sorts of other stress and other emotions. Yeah. And I suspect that's what your job as an NLP coach is to peel away all of that noise and distractions and get to your real core and say, what is getting you excited and motivated in the morning? Let's focus on that, so that every morning you wake up and get excited and motivated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny you say peel away the layers. I often tell clients, okay, so we're going to peel apart the layers of the onion. What is underneath that? And what is underneath that? And what is underneath that? Right? Because when you can get to the core of the emotions, then, like I said, you're not starting your day off at an 8 stress level, and then one thing sets you off and you are through the roof, right? It's like that that idea of, you're carrying around a cup of coffee and someone bumps into you. What spills over, right? And so if you are starting your day, you're starting with a great morning routine, you've done your gratitude, you have good things that are going to spill out of your cup, right? And if you don't, something needs to change. It's one of those questions you ask yourself, if not now, when? When's the time to make an adjustment to make my life better? And so many people put it off and put it off and put it off. And it comes from a space of not seeing the value or the worthiness in themselves. However, how dare you not show up authentically in the world? Who knows what gifts you really have to give? So that's so much of what I do. And the power for me behind it is I get to help people uncover their point of fulfillment. I get to see that joy, that spark is everything. It's just incredible. And I think I went off on a tangent from the question that you asked me. So it happens.
No, it was a great answer. So if I was to summarize your career, it's, you had a thriving career in real estate. Yeah. You had a life event, traumatic, let's say that right, traumatic emotional event with, obviously with your children is always very serious. And that event led you down a path of discovery, and you found your true gift, your true calling.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And your ability to share now all of that learning with everyone else and share with the world and help other people in that process. So ultimately, even though in real estate you were magic, okay, but as a coach, you're supreme. So that is your true gift.
Yeah, it's just I keep going back to impact, right? is such a core foundation of why I do what I do, and why I think it's so important for all of us to come to a point where we realize that it matters how we show up in the world. It matters that we heal what we have going on internally and are able to communicate our gifts, our talents, and so forth externally.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask the question, Angel, because I don't think I've ever seen you down. That's why you're the best co-pilot ever. I've never seen you grumpy. I've never seen you even frown. So what is your secret, Angel?
I mean, I'm not AI, I am human, so I do have my moments, but for me, it comes down to mindfulness and just being really aware of the thoughts and the reactions that I am thinking and feeling, and just catching myself in that moment. And, really, truly, nothing is that big of a deal, right? Like, we all, if you're here, you've made it through 100% of the bad things that happen, and usually it leads to something better. So for me, it's just being really mindful.
See, I thought what you were going to say is every time you're feeling down, you go to AngelAi and you ask her if she loves you.
That too, also. If I can't get myself out of that funk, then it's right to AngelAi so that she would tell me how much she loves me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a big part of it, is just having someone to talk to that you can trust, and quote unquote love, not necessarily doesn't have to be in a romantic sense, but someone that you trust is someone that you love and that loves you back.
Yeah, have that sounding board is crucial.
Yeah. All right, thank you all for staying tuned in. And now it's time. It's time for Molly's 5 top tips, 5 top takeaways today, where you can implement right now in your business, in your life, and explode, all for free. So let's go ahead, Molly.
Awesome. Thank you. So yes, so 5 top tips for just succeeding in life in general, right? Whether that's business, whether that's family, relationships. These are things that are tried and true with my clients and with myself. So the first one is creating awareness, right? Understanding that you are continuing to grow and evolve, and just pinpointing what it is that's creating some sort of stressor in your life, if that's what's going on, right? The second is understanding whatever fear or stress that's going on, is really creating that understanding, right? And looking at what is fact, what is fiction, what's real, what's not, and asking yourself, how do I know this is real? Do I have any proof of this? And then what am I going to do about it? The other one, and this came from my coach, Allison Burnett, who is just amazing. It's called the drama triangle, right? And just recognizing that if you are in the drama triangle, if you are playing the role of victim, villain, or savior, things are happening to you. They're not happening for you. So really just using that language. Is this happening to me? Is this happening for me? Or what can I learn from this, right? It's similar to that reframe. So that the power of that reframe, like we talked about, is so incredible. And it's essentially just looking at things from a different viewpoint. Like, how can you turn the lens? How can you look at this from a different angle and a different perspective? And so often it's going to help you operate out of a place of success with all of the relationships in your life across the board, so and really just creating that ability to respond versus react, and the last thing I would say is really getting to the core of what emotion you're feeling. So often with clients, I know I've mentioned the modality of timeline therapy. It's really looking back and realizing what emotion is it that keeps repeating itself? What's creating the pattern here? So all 5 of these things to say, it's awareness, it's perspective, and it's operating out of a growth mindset.
Excellent.
I love that. Those are phenomenal tips that anyone and everyone can start implementing today. So if people want to take it a step further and they're interested in connecting with you, looking into your coaching programs, where can I find you?
Yes, so mollylynncoaching.com or mollylynncoaching@gmail.com. And of course, Molly Lynn on Facebook, Molly Lynn Coaching on Instagram. And I can share that with you to link below as well.
So it's MOLLYLYNN, 2 N's?
You got it.
So MOLLYLYNNCOACHING.com.
You got it. Perfect.
I know how to spell. Woohoo. MollyLynnCoaching.com and Molly Lynn Coaching on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, and here's the big $1 million question that everybody listening, I'm sure, wants to know. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. So you coach real estate agents and loan officers both, right?
Correct. Yes.
So who are better, realtors or loan officers?
We need to work together.
Good answer.
Relationships. Right? That's what's best.
Oh, come on. Who's your favorite, realtors or loan officers?
I think it depends on the person. No, I'll have to say realtors because I was a realtor, right? Sorry, guys.
It's okay. Sorry, loan officers. It's realtors. And one more question for all loan officers that are watching. The challenge for loan officers is always, I've been trying to break into this real estate office forever, or I've got I got 2 or 3 agents and I need to expand my business. I'm trying to do this.
Yeah.
Like I just can't seem to get anywhere. I just can't seem to get the attention of apart from my core clients, I can't seem to get the attention of other realtors. What do I do?
Yeah. So for me, the biggest thing was finding networking groups. Finding places where realtors hang out, where they spend their time versus just the industry standard. Like, what are you doing to separate yourself? Everybody can bring a basket of cookies to an office on Christmas, or a pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving, and I mean, realtors do this too, right? So they know what you're doing.
Wait a minute. Do I get a pumpkin pie today? Hold on.
I'm not a realtor.
Oh man, I
know, tough crowd.
I haven't had lunch. I'm getting hungry. Pumpkin pie.
Right? I know. Talking about food. Jeez, yes. So it's really, what is that point of discernment or a point of difference, right? To set yourself apart. That's all it is. People don't care how much you know, how much you do. They want to know how much you care. So demonstrate that. Find a way. And yes, I butchered that quote. I know. I'm paraphrasing, right? So really find a way to connect with the person, not the business owner. And for me, that was visiting a lot of networking groups where those people spend their time after hours, where they're able to unplug and disconnect a little bit.
I'm actually writing that down. I like that. People want to know how much you care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maya Angelou quote.
Whose quote?
I'll send it to you.
See, now there you go. I taught you one thing, you taught me one thing.
Ta-da!
All right. So Molly, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful hour
Thank
speaking
you.
with you. And once again, it's Molly Lynn Coaching.com, MOLLYLYNN coaching.com, all one word. And Molly Lynn Coaching on Instagram. She's amazing. She's in Michigan, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was
However,
nice.
I coach from here to Australia, so sky's the limit. Thank you,
Oh wait,
Zoom.
you got clients down under?
I have had, yes. My coach is actually in Australia.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Well, I just a sidebar, the artist who drew AngelAi, she's in Australia.
Beautiful. Nice.
It's a small world.
Yeah, it is.
So, all right, Molly, thank you so much for your time, and thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.